Hey, what's good, everyone? Just wanted to share with you my 5-0 run through. Just kind of talk about the list, check out the matchups together, talk about some lines, some good plays, some misplays, and yeah, let's just start off with the list here. It's a pretty weird list, kind of. The weirdest things about it, you'll see that there are not any copies of Once Upon a Time in the deck. So usually that's a 4 of or a 3 of. Since we only really run 8 green sources here, 9 including Cavern of Souls, we usually run Once Upon a Time to help round out the mana base. You know, a turn 1 or turn 0 Once Upon a Time to find a green source is often a really nice play. So that was kind of strange, but in its place we got 2 Life from the Loam and 2 Exploration. So my idea in this was that Exploration would allow us for some more explosive starts. Things like turn 1 Exploration, drop 2 green sources, turn 2 play 2 more lands and drop the 1 ring, or things like turn 1 Exploration, Cloudpost, turn 2 Cloudpost, Glimmer Post, the 1 ring, or even like 2 Cloudposts turn 2. And then my idea with Life from the Loam was basically to find a way to ensure that we just keep hitting our land drops after sacrificing a couple lands from crop rotation and Elvish Reclaimer. And then it's basically like a draw 3 for 2, get 3 lands back. Because this deck really wants to hit land drops. And going back to the card Once Upon a Time, that's something that card really helps this deck do both early game, mid game, and late game. So yeah, even though I did trophy with this list, I don't think Exploration and Life from the Loam will be cards that I'll be playing from here on out. You know, maybe I'll try them again sometime, but I found with Life from the Loam, it was just really affecting the way I played the deck and changing my mulligans and just not really conducive to like the play style of the deck. Maybe I need to just give it more time and get used to it, but I feel like there's other builds and other ways the deck can be just like performing more efficiently and more consistently. So I'm just gonna like default back to those for now. Exploration was really cool when it was good. It felt really bad as a top deck. It was great in general when the 1 ring is out or turn 1. Generally, if like turn 2, turn 3, when I dropped most of my lands, it's not the best. But yeah, other than that, the list is pretty standard. I do have 3 Elvish Spirit Guides here that help round out the green. They, help with a lot of things. I'm gonna do a deck tech video later this month, and I'll go more into card choices and specifics. But for now, let's just dive into the matches. So this is the first 7, easy mulligan. Ended up keeping this, leading off with Exploration, which I think it's forced. Expedition map was a decent draw. Our opponent passes and doesn't have any early game pressure, which is pretty huge for this deck. Expedition map, another great card that usually hits a Force of Will against blue decks. Helps us develop our mana base. Wasteland here. Fortunately, I don't think hurt us too bad, but our opponent does seem to be a little far ahead here at this point. This BUG Hogaak was really crucial in keeping Delirium at check. You can see here our opponent has only 2 cards left in hand. Well, now they're back up to 4, but they really need to hit something like Delirium or a Murktide Region, something to close the game fast. And we just keep hitting our land drops, which is what we want to do. Now here, I want to stop and talk about this. So our opponent had a 3/3 Dragon Rage Channeler out. We're still at 17 life, and they had 3 cards in hand and casted Daze. So really, in retrospect, this was a huge misplay. What I should have done was pass the turn, waited and fetched an expedition map, and just played around Daze. Because the payoff of resolving a One Ring would have been huge in this game. So I think that was a little impatient on my part. And that might have actually cost me the game here in retrospect. This was a interesting card to see here. Hearth Elemental. It costs X less to cast, where X is the number of cards in your graveyard that are instant cards, sorcery cards, and or have adventure. So that's a pretty cool tech from our blue-red opponent. I haven't seen that before, but it seems pretty good. So here I play Glacial Chasm and I sacrifice BUG Hogaak. Now that leaves me completely vulnerable to Wasteland, which is not what you usually want to do. But at this point, they had a lot of damage on board, and all I could really do was you know, play with the cards that was dealt. So that was my kind of my only way to survive here. And then you'll see me cast Life from the Loam and just try to keep going here. My opponent's digging for a Wasteland, and they hit it, and that's the game. Going to game 2. Now this is a very nice 7. If we can resolve a Carpet of Flowers, it's pretty great. Yeah, let's see how this game goes here. Leading off on Cloudpost, kind of baiting out a Wasteland. I had so much gas that I was kind of just playing into Wasteland. Wasteland Surgical can be a common thing that happens to you against Delver, but it's not game ending by any means, especially with Carpet of Flowers. Tabernacle is a huge card in this matchup too. So, you know, part of that playing Cloudpost game 1 or turn 1 was to slow down the game. That was my idea. Try to see if the Tabernacle sticks around. It does help here that my opponent didn't have any early game pressure. That was huge. And this endurance here, you know, I could have gone for just Elvish Reclaimer, but one of the things against Delver is you really want to keep their graveyard in check, so that was kind of my idea with that play. Another Carpet of Flowers here. I will pay for that. Our opponent has double Daze, which means they're going to lose their Delver of Secrets. That's pretty huge. I probably should have attacked there. I don't know why I didn't. But they could have just blocked anyhow. I top deck yet another Carpet of Flowers, which is huge. I think my opponent was also trying to keep me off a lot of mana with Carpet of Flowers. Here, I can make a 20/20, but have to watch out for Brazen Borrower. I decide I'm going to stick with the traditional plan here, and I think just go for a Titan. Here, I think I cast Surgical, targeting Force of Will to make sure that my spell can resolve. So they did have the Brazen Borrower, so it was good that I didn't go for the Dark Depths. Now here I can just resolve a Primeval Titan and just kind of win from there. I believe my opponent conceded. Off to game 3. this looked like a pretty sketchy hand, but the One Ring makes me keep a lot of hands. This is a much better 6. It's Veil of Summer, Carpet of Flowers, Tabernacle, and 2 green sources to protect from Wasteland. The Green Sun Zenith to get Elvish Reclaimer. Seems like a pretty great hand. The tempo that Tabernacle provides us with is pretty huge in this matchup. And also Delver not flipping helps. Now here I'll get a Elvish Reclaimer. That's our main engine. I think I'm debating whether I should activate that during the main phase. That wouldn't make much sense, but Brainstorm was revealed. I think I was worried about Murktide there, so I ended up fetching during their main phase, which was probably not ideal. And here, I think I can just fetch another Cloudpost and cast Ulamog next turn with Veil of Summer backup, and that's like just gonna be pretty huge. End of turn, make another Cloudpost. So we got, yeah, concession there. Exiling both of their creatures. We had Veil of Summer backup as well. All in all, pretty smooth. And then we had match 2 here. And you can see here how exploration could be pretty explosive. And I think here we were playing against Turbo Muxus. So our opponent gets a Goblin Matron. They search for a Namesticker Goblin. That's like the main creature in the deck. And already on turn 2 we have so much mana. We're going to untap turn 3 with 3, 6, 7, 8, and another from Caracas, at least 9 mana. We're drawing cards. So yeah, very explosive. This is kind of like a best case scenario with exploration when you have it out with the One Ring. That's the idea I had when putting it in. However, you'll see my opponent here quickly make a ton of power. That One Ring really saved the entire game there. They had a shitload of power on board. So I drew some cards, and our opponent was able to deal with our Elvish Reclaimer, which meant game over for us. We needed to draw into the One Ring or something. And I think they did that with this Broadside Bombardiers. So that's a new addition to Mono Red Prison and Goblins, and has Menace and Haste. And Menace it needs to be blocked by 2 or more creatures. Boast is sacrifice another creature or artifact. Broadside Bombardiers deals damage equal to 2 plus the sacrifice permanent value to any target. So the boast means they can only activate this ability once per turn. And yeah, they blew up our Elvish Reclaimer, and from there, that was GG. And then we're going on to game 2. This is an intense match. That's a really fast deck, so it's not the easiest match. We mull down to 6 here. Reclaimer's a great way to start the game. This is very much a Glacial Chasm matchup. And also we have a turn 3 Dark Depths here, which is another possibility. So here we decided to pass the turn and just go for a 20/20. I could have played Elvish Reclaimer and played the long game, but I kind of just decided it's better just to go for it. They cast Ringleader, tapped out. It's basically a good game. And then we have game 3, which was pretty intense. A great starting 6. Got some lands, Life from the Loam, crop rotation to help us find Glacial Chasm. Luckily they didn't have a turn 1 sticker Goblin into Turbo Muxus. Yeah, they didn't have too explosive of a start here, which really helped us ensure victory here, especially this Tabernacle. This game could have gone a lot differently had they had something else. But it is only turn 3, and they generate a ton of mana. Goblin Chieftain, they got tons of power on board, and I think here I just go for the Glacial Chasm. Otherwise it would have been lights out. And from here it's just trying to stabilize, basically. Of course, Elvish Reclaimer helps us do that. And we're just trying to dodge Blood Moon here, because Blood Moon is game over. They were able to bounce our Elvish Reclaimer to our hand. With Sting Scourger, when it enters the battlefield, return target creature and opponent controls to its owner's hand. So we just cast it back out again. And yeah, we're just kind of playing draw go with them, making our land drops and paying cumulative upkeep 2 with Glacial Chasm. And I think here we're just kind of waiting to get it to get enough mana to cast Emrakul. They have like a jillion power on board. Glacial Chasm is such a cool magic card. It really helps us win so many matches like this. So this is crazy. Check this out. Goblin Crater Maker deals 2 damage to target creature if you sacrifice it, or you can destroy target colorless non-land permanent. So that includes Emrakul here. Emrakul is a colorless non-land permanent, so that's definitely something to be aware of. And we'll see if that comes up later on in this game. Spoiler alert, I think it does. And here we just reset the Glacial Chasm because we couldn't really afford to pay life anymore. And another thing here is all of their mana is from Cavern of Souls, so I think Dark Depths would be a relatively safe way to go here, since they don't have any red mana. End of turn here. Looks like we go for the safe kill here. So fetching Caracas lets us protect Emrakul because we bounce it in response to any removal they have. Here comes Emrakul, and our opponent, I believe, will try to blow it up with the Goblin Crater Maker, and then we just bounce it with Caracas in response. That's often an important thing to consider when finally casting Emrakul. If you can have Caracas in hand, it can be the difference between winning and losing the game. So we just bounced it back to our hand and then took our second turn and cast it again. And I believe that's when we got the concession. Or maybe not. Maybe our opponent didn't realize that we can just infinitely loop it. Alright, so that was round 2. Yeah, we played pretty well and also got kind of lucky. Moving on to round 3 versus Red-White Initiative, which has gotten a lot better since the addition of the One Ring. In fact, I believe it's the card that saves the matchup and makes it winnable for us. So this is an insane hand. It's going kind of all in on ramp and the One Ring, which should be enough. Versus fair decks. It helped that our opponent didn't have a turn 1 powerful, impactful initiative creature. Same with turn 2. Our draws here are pretty insane though. Like, this is like unbelievable hand. It's just kind of plays itself. The One Ring and Cloudposts and Eye of Ugin. Honestly, probably don't even need to draw any cards here with the One Ring. It doesn't always go this well for us, but and here another cool thing is we're able to drop another One Ring when they have trap coming, so they're gonna have to play trap on themselves. Here I make a little misplay, a huge misplay actually, which could have easily cost me the game. So I forgot that Archon of Emeria. I forgot 2 things. I played a Wasteland into Chalice on 1. I'm sorry, I played an Exploration into Chalice on 1, and even worse, I forgot that Archon of Emeria only lets us cast 1 spell each turn. So I went from having the game like pretty much in the bag to making this huge misplay that could easily cost me the game. You can see they have like 11 power on board at this time here, and I'm at 18. So yeah, these small decisions and micro decisions, and just you got to read your opponent's cards, and you got to pay attention more, because a huge misplay like that can cost you the match. That was pretty careless. I guess it happens to the best of us, but I think I get lucky here and end up stabilizing. But in conjunction with trap, they were able to bring me down to 2 here. Prime time, got us Glimmer Post and Glacial Chasm. Sacrifice to Glimmer Post. Got protection from everything from the One Ring. next turn. So they got rid of our primetime, but primetime already did its job. We got Glacial Chasm and the One Ring out. So we're going to draw a ton of cards. We're going to probably search up something big with Eye of Ugin. Next turn, that is. And as you can see, they have a ton of power on board. So both Glacial Chasm and the One Ring are huge in this matchup. And game 2 and 3, it gets rougher because our opponent has Magus of the Moon. So a lot of times that's the main card we're kind of battling against in this matchup. We want to save our Dismembers for Magus of the Moon. Of course, this is game 1 still, so there is no Magus of the Moon May deck, most likely. And then you can see here we got a One Ring again. Protection from everything. I'm not sure what our opponent's seeking for, but we're basically at the point where if we play this right, we shouldn't lose this game. And I believe I dredged Life from the Loam there as well. To buy back Glacial Chasm potentially. And then we make another Glacial Chasm. Don't pay for the other one, because that would be 6 life. And here we cast another Primetime instead of one of the big guys, just to get out more mana. So a cool thing I can do here too next turn will be I could exile both of these Archons and still cast Emrakul, I believe. Our opponent's got a million triggers for Tabernacle. And at this point, I basically just have to not mess up. They could have more Solitudes. They also have Reflection of Kiki-Jiki, which can make a copy of Solitude and remove my Eldrazi, so you do have to be pretty careful at this point. Luckily, they did get rid of one of their Archons, so if I removed Reflection of Kiki-Jiki and Archon here with Ulamog and then cast Emrakul, that's a relatively safe play. But again, they still could have Solitude in hand. There's one in the graveyard and one in play. So then I do cast Ulamog here, and I target Archon, which maybe was a misplay, because I targeted Archon and Chalice of the Void. I think I should have targeted Archon and Reflection of Kiki-Jiki, because now here they can cast Reflection of, or not cast, activate Reflection of Kiki-Jiki and exile my Ulamog. However, we do have Emrakul here as well. Still a pretty big misplay, I think. They do take out our Emrakul. Sequencing. So sequencing is so important in this deck. If we had just cast Pithing Needle after, or even just targeted Reflection of Kiki-Jiki and Archon of Emeria instead of Chalice and Archon, this game would have just been over way faster and easier. So yeah, if I would have cast Pithing Needle earlier, our Emrakul would have been saved. Expedition Map is a good play here, I think. Reclaimer. I get life from the Loam, so I can play Glacial Chasm again. Really grindy card here. And they do have the fourth Solitude. So now I'm stuck with no Eldrazi in hand and no Eldrazi in my deck. Both of them exiled. And another thing, going back to what I was saying before, if you can get Karakas out before you put those Eldrazi into play, it's going to be a lot better for you in the long run. Because you can bounce them back. So now I basically have to win here with either Dark Depths or Titans. So the cool thing about this build is Life from the Loam is just like the grindiest card here. So hypothetically, I could just keep looping Dark Depths over and over. And with Exploration out, I could loop Glacial Chasm and protect myself every turn and play the combo every turn. Not every turn, but every couple of turns. So I finally did destroy a Reflection of Kiki-Jiki with Posiju. Our opponent cast another Chalice on one. I think this is the third Chalice on one this game. And then at the end of the turn here, sacrificing Ugin for Dark Depths. Sacrifice Touch the Spirit Realm. Or I'm sorry, sacrifice we blew up Touch the Spirit Realm with our Besiege. Draw some more cards. And here's a cool play here that you got to keep in mind with this deck. Really common for Cloudpost players. You all know this, but people that don't play Cloudpost, we have a Endurance in, which we can use to shuffle our graveyard back into our deck to then be able to search for cards from our deck, useful utility lands and such. Yeah, so again, this game ended up being way grindier than it needed to. I think now with their 2 Solitudes on board and 1 Solitude in the graveyard, their only out here with no flyers left was their 4th Solitude. So I just decided to make it 2020, and I think I just sacrificed it. Sacrificed the Glacial Chasm here, and then I attack with Merit Lage for the win. Yeah, that did it. And then game 2, we had a nice turn 3 ring, which against, I'm surprised I mulliganed that. I think I was probably a little bit too concerned with potential turn 1 Magus of the Moon. This hand is also pretty good. This was a tough decision here. I could have pitched Force of Vigor, pitched Elvish Reclaimer to blow up their Chromox, but that would have left me with absolutely no game plan, so I didn't do that. Another green source would have been good there. I was in a pickle here, I think. I wanted to get rid of Chromox and Fable, but at the same time I needed my Elvish Reclaimer to stick around. So that was really tough, and I think I did end up pitching that, which kind of left me in top deck mode. Retrospectively, I don't really know if that was probably not a good play. I should have probably let off with Elvish Reclaimer. They had 2 cards in hand, and I think I can just start ramping here. I do have Dismember backup for Magus of the Moon, which is pretty sweet. It's just a matter of like if I can survive long enough to be able to cast it. But yeah, retrospectively too, I think that first hand was probably better. At 7, I don't think I had to mull that. If our opponent would have let off with like a fast initiative hand there, I think it would have just been game over. But there was some luck involved. And we did hit our draws. We're guaranteed a Ulamog this next turn, unless they, yeah, guaranteed a Ulamog this next turn. And I think we get our Titan back, exiling Touch the Spirit Realm, and then exile their Fable, the Mirror Breaker. And it's just kind of game from there. I get more lands, and then every turn I can cast a Ulamog. Yeah, so our opponent just conceded. So yeah, that was the third match, probably the grindiest of the 3 so far. And then we move on to round 4. Game 1. I believe this one was against Mono Black Aggro, possibly. Another insane, well, not insane, but another good turn 1 exploration hand. Unfortunately, no more lands to capitalize, but it was still pretty decent. Now, Life from the Loam is another card. I think it's really good against black decks. It really helps us grind. But would Once Upon a Time be better? Probably most of the time. But I think Life from the Loam did shine in this matchup. We didn't have any lands to target, but next turn I think we dredge and just try to keep hitting our land drops. So our opponent wastelanded us, so we were basically in top deck mode there, hoping to find another land, and they did reanimate our own Elvish Reclaimer, and I believe their idea is they can just start getting wastelands. But we have Life from the Loam to protect us. They get a Ghost Quarter out, which is pretty huge. We resolve a Life from the Loam, get 2 lands back, play them. So yeah, both Exploration and Life from the Loam were pretty big here in this match. Orcish Bowmasters we don't really care about. And I can see us just kind of starting to stabilize here. And I think we might drop Glacial Chasm or something. No. So they have a Ghost Quarter. So block the Bowmaster. Probably get another Oh, yep, we did get a glacial chasm here to survive. And yeah, another life from the Loam, just insane here, especially with exploration. The two together are really huge, of course. And yeah, contrary to what I said in the intro of this video, I just aggressively loamed in this video. I think it's safer game one when they don't have any surgical extraction or anything. We get our tabernacle. We have defense against wasteland with Elvish Reclaimer. Yeah, not a whole lot our opponent can do here. This is a unique game in that it really highlighted the things you can do with Life from the Loam exploration in this deck. We played against two wastelands and a ghost quarter. 3 wastelands and a ghost quarter. We beat that game. Our opponent just had enough. Game 2. Kept to 7 here. No big creatures for them to reanimate, which is huge. We have crop rotation up in case they would like to reanimate anything of their own. Pithing Needle on Dothy Voidwalker was huge. I opted to not name Wasteland because Dothy Voidwalker can be quite scary when they have a lot of discard. Here I responded to their opposition agent. I think they were holding it up, but they got tired maybe. They want to just kind of close out the game fast here. And the One Ring is really going to help in this matchup. As you can see, luckily I was able to dodge this card, and then I had Veil of Summer to protect against it as well. I probably should have played Cloudpost there. Retrospectively, that was a misplay. Then at 11 here, I think we're finally able to play. We dig in and find a Dismember, which is absolutely huge. That way we can get rid of this opposition agent and search up a Primeval Titan. So yeah, Magus of the Moon and Opposition Agent are the two biggest reasons for us to play Dismember. And from here, it's just kind of we're on not autopilot, but we're doing pretty alright here. So the fact that we have Glacial Chasm makes it so that their Orcish Bowmasters can't hit us. That's come up quite a bit actually for me playing this deck so far. Glimmer Post is huge, helps us gain life. And yeah, we have another Thespian stage as well as a Basula here, so we can just sit behind this pretty well. But we do have to draw into some green mana here, which we do end up doing. Play a Glimmer Post, go back to 13 life. And I think here we just really weren't rushing it. I was just trying to ensure the victory and yeah, not rush anything. They did get opposition agent number 2 out again. And here I'm at 5 life and end up drawing into Ulamog, which is super lucky. But that's what you kind of do with the One Ring. I find myself often just drawing cards. And all the life gained from all these Glimmerpuss, it looked pretty scary at the beginning of that turn. We were at like 5 life, and then we were at 13 life. Ended the game with both of our Eldrazi on the battlefield. The One Ring is insane. So that was around 4. I think our round 5 match was versus BUG Hogaak, I think, which is a fantastic matchup for us. But it was a really cool build, an extremely cool build. It was running, you'll see, it's got some Hedron Crab, some counter magic, Stitcher Supplier. Yeah, very cool deck. Days. Was not expecting that from a deck like this. So this is very much a Bojuka Bog matchup, and we happen to top deck Bojuka Bog. And they got a Stitcher Supplier, got some more cards in graveyard. We exiled some pretty key things here. Life from the Loam would have helped them keep dredging. It would have helped them buy back Wasteland, so that was an insane top deck. Got rid of some of that stuff. They did fill their library, or sorry, fill their graveyard some more very quickly the next turn. And then from there, we're able to cast a Hogaak. So now we're facing down some pretty intense things here. Crop rotation, finding Yavimaya there so that I could then search for I believe it was Caracas maybe. And they didn't really have anything in their graveyard at this point to help them with their dredge plan, but they did resolve a Hogaak. I think I find Caracas here and bounce it and then block their Bloodghast because Elvish Reclaimer became a 3/4 creature. And from here it's just kind of like GG. Exiling their whole graveyard in response to their Life from the Loam. They get it back, so they are rebuilding again. It's pretty big. And I find another Bojuka Bog and figure I don't mind taking 2 damage. So yeah, Masuva is an insane card. It lets us find copy number 2 and 3 of Bojuka Bog. Yeah, Life from the Loam there again was pretty cool. Helped me buy back a Bojuka Bog. So this guy shrinks pretty huge when I shrink their graveyard. So I think that's why they scooped. I basically would have taken like 2 or 3 damage the next turn and just really stabilized there. And then game 2. Really amazing hand. Game 2. The only thing that would have made this better was probably like an Elvish Spirit Guide maybe. I have many ways to protect myself. I got my best 1-drop. Best card in the deck, Elvish Reclaimer. So I held up Veil of Summer here because I was really in no rush. And I think I surgical Life from the Loam here at a certain point. They only had 2 in their deck. And then I kind of leave them with the choice here too. And now I should highlight here. I was not sure if I played that ideally, so I didn't leave myself vulnerable to uh, like a reanimation spell. If they would have had a way to reanimate my Titan there, I was like shields down for a turn. So that is pretty huge. And then we play back and forth here. I get 2 Reclaimers on board, which is, I think they just realized at that point that once I have 2 Reclaimers on board, um, I have all the tools I need to just keep them in check. I have Bog, I have um, Tabernacle, Caracas, and they really need their graveyard to function. They just don't have any realistic way of dealing with 2 Elvish Reclaimers. So yeah, that was the 5-0. Thanks for joining me on this journey. Hope you guys enjoyed the recap here. And yeah, hope to see you again soon in the following leagues.